I am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. I'm just a steel town girl on a Saturday night. That's for sure. As a matter of fact, this guy grew up somewhere near a steel town. I can't remember exactly where. Folks, it's the Wednesday show. He comes in every Wednesday, whether we want him to or not. I'm talking about one Mr. Chris Shaffer. Yeah. Yeah, there he is. How's it going, Chris?
Pretty good. I am going to take a little bit of an exception to that because I grew up on the non-Yinzer side of the state where there's not much steel going on. The Philadelphia and Alabama portion of the state, not the Pittsburgh portion of the state. So coal country, but not steel country.
Chris, you're a little low. Can you get closer to your mic or turn up your whatever?
I can turn it up for you too. How's that? Is that a little bit better?
Yeah, that's it now. Yeah, because last time,
just get right up on it.
Yeah, all of the audio files were really upset last time because you were in and out, in and out. You know, we couldn't get you settled. But hey, you're back by popular demand. Chris, there are two things. Well, both of these are from my childhood. And I want to know if you've heard of either of these two sayings.
Okay.
The first one is, haha, made in Japan. And do you know what that's in reference to?
Nope.
Hmm?
That one I don't know. No.
All right. So right after, I guess post-war, whatever, the 50s, 60s, whatever, whenever Japan was coming back on track, we were getting a lot of stuff out of that part of the world. And if you got like cheap tennis shoes or like flip-flops or something like that, kids would, like if, let's say your tennis shoes were falling apart, kids would go, haha, made in Japan. It was a slight on, it's not made in America, right? It's made in Japan.
Little did they know.
Yeah. Now, it wasn't, I'm going to be honest with you. When I first started in college, when I had to make extra money, I went to work for Toyota. And that was like my first entree into, oh, wait, this product is much better. Because back then, you had an American-made car. You got to like 60,000 miles. It was junk, right? If your car even made it that long, it was... You had to get a new car. As a matter of fact, it was planned obsolescence. America was doing that. We had so much money here, planned obsolescence. I can't even speak today. Right? So yeah, we don't want cars lasting forever. We just want them to last long enough to people to pay them off. People had, I know it sounds crazy back then, if they took a payment on a car, it would be either 2 years or if they really stretched it, 3 years. But most people would take out 12 and 24-month loans on cars and try to pay them off pretty quickly, right? But as soon as that car was paid off, there were more problems than it was worth, and then you would just, go get your next Chevy or Dodge or Ford, and they all lasted about the same amount of time. But then comes Japan, and rich people were able to get a Mercedes or something with a diesel. Back then, that was the other thing. Mercedes in this country, diesel engines, right? Because those diesel engines just ticked along, and rich people in New Orleans, the oil people that lived in St. Charles, they drove these diesel cars that just spewed out all this, diesel smoke out of the back, but they went on forever. Luxury cars. Right, so those were your two options. Either you were rich enough.
I love that diesel was a luxury thing.
Well, that's rich people were into longevity. Hey, we can buy this car. You buy it once and it stays for a long time. Right, that's the way the country worked back in the late 50s, 60s, 70s when I was coming into understanding the world in the 1970s as a kid. I knew that when I bought my first car, I still own that car. It's still in a barn in Louisiana. I paid $700 for it, right? It was a 1971 Cougar convertible. It was worth $700. That was it. And drove the wheels off of it. You had to keep fixing it. But when you have a father who understands mechanics, and me and my brother, my dad taught us how to wrench, and you're just driving around a small town, okay, so it leaves you on the street. You're not walking more than a mile back to your house, right? As a matter of fact, if I had to go to Baton Rouge to go clothes shopping or something, my mom would say, take my car, right? There was no taking that car to Baton Rouge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, she didn't want you out in the world in that car, but it's fine for driving around town.
Yeah, it was. And then later on, I was able, I made a little money. I fixed it up and everything, made it run. But that cost thousands of dollars on a $700 car. I'm telling you all this for a reason, right? Because the Japanese cars in 1984, people would buy. When I was selling Toyotas, people would come into the dealership and say, hey, I want. They used to sell a Tercel, a Corolla, and a Corona. And they also had something called a Cressida, and they had the SR5 truck. That was it, right? And people would come in with their Corona or their Corolla or whatever, and they would go, I want another one just like this one. And then they would tell you, we put 350,000 miles on this car. We barely even changed the oil. We changed the oil when we thought about it, right? Sometimes the dipstick, it didn't even show up on a dipstick. We would just add oil to it, right? Yeah.
Maybe we need to get some oil.
Just pay attention to the Toyota, right? And they were like, yeah, and you would buy them for cheap and they would last forever, right? So made in Japan at one time was a bad thing. Then it became a good thing, right? They were making Toyota, Honda motorcycles. People would hand them down to their brothers, and they would hand them down to their brothers. They would just go for they called them rice burners, right? And some people think of that as, oh, that's some kind of racial slur about Japanese. No, during the war, the Italians did the same thing with the Vespa. They made scooters. Honda made scooters just like the Italians made Vespas to run on alcohol that you can make from a carbohydrate. That's what carbohydrates were used for during World War II. Chris, you look like you want to say something.
You said Vespa, and I now need to show you something. Have you seen the anti-tank Vespa, which is probably the greatest military invention of all time and has to be the most Italian and or French thing ever? I think it's a French version.
Let's see it.
Let me pull it up here. It takes everything that's a bad idea about a Vespa and somehow makes it worse. Let's see if I can.
Well, the Vespas are great. I still look. Oh my God, right. Is that real?
Oh yes. And I got to see if they have a picture of somebody actually riding it, because you straddled the bazooka.
Really?
Oh yeah. Are you still seeing my screen, or is it just the...
Yeah, no, I'm seeing the screen, but there it is. There's someone riding it.
Oh yeah.
So they would go out in the field with this and then shoot at tanks?
That was the theory. They built it after World War II to avoid a recurrence. And I don't know that it was ever actually used, but yes, it was. It's called an anti-tank scooter.
Who knew?
Okay. And that has been Wednesday's Useless Facts with Chris.
Yeah. Little known, even less cared for facts by Chris. So
anytime somebody says Vespa, that's all I can think of. Like, shouldn't you just turn it around, shoot it out the back, and go faster? That would make more sense.
Look, people always want to know where words and terms come from, right? Rice burner came from, they would burn rice to get, that they would make ethanol from rice, and that's what they would put in the Hondas, right? And then Honda now, so one of the best cars you could buy today is a Honda, right?
I've had 2 Civics in my life, and between the 2 of them, I've done over 500,000 miles.
Yeah. Both of my nephews drive Civics, and I know the last time I asked one of my nephews, what do you have in your Civic? Because I don't know, 350,000 miles, something like that. And these things are like 12 or 15 years old. At any rate, here's the other saying from my childhood. I remember I said there was two. One was made in Japan. Haha, made in Japan. Harley Davidson. They're the best. Ride a mile, walk the rest. You ever hear that?
No, not about Harley, about Ford.
Well, Ford was fix or repair daily, that kind of.
Yeah, it was Ford. They're the best. Drive a mile, walk the rest is the version of that I know.
Yeah. Well,
but the fixed or repaired daily is the better version of it.
Right. Well, when I was a kid, Harley Davidson became pretty much a defunct company. Did you know that? It almost went away. Harley Davidson was one of the original, American motorcycles. Indian was another one. There was a bunch of them in Europe. The Vincent, there was one called the Vincent. There was, the Triumph and a bunch of them. But in America, we had the Indian and we had the Harley. And both brands went basically out of business because you couldn't keep these bikes running. As a matter of fact, they had the last kind of hoorah was during the hippie days of the late 60s going into the 70s, where guys would take the Sportster and chop, it was called a chopper. They would chop it up and put the big forks on it, and did that. But then that was it, right? The company almost went away. And it was the granddaughter or great-granddaughter of the company that decided, you know what? Americans love this brand. And they had sold the company, I don't know to whom, but I want to say AMC or one of those companies. Right, AMC tried to make a go at it for a while.
Yeah, it was AMF.
AMF, yeah. AMF tried to make a go of it for a while with Harley, and then they were like, "Yeah, we can't get this going." But the granddaughter, great granddaughter, says, "You know what? I'm going to start. Since we own the label, we can't make the motorcycles, but we can make leather jackets and put Harley on it. Make leather vests. We can make chaps and everything else. Put Harley on it." And people wanted that nostalgia, right? And then somehow that made so much money that they bought the rest of it back, turned the company around. As a matter of fact, I owned a Harley somewhere around 1998, maybe 99, somewhere around there, maybe 2000. I had a soft tail, because I used to have a lot of motorcycles. And I bought one. It ran as well as any Japanese or Italian motorcycle I owned, right? Both of these countries, you have the country of Japan, made in Japan. You have Harley Davidson, where the brand was so bad that no one would even buy the bikes anymore. It just went away. And then they came back. Does that remind you of anything that we're doing? I mean, that was a long way to get to this, Chris.
Don't call it a comeback? I don't know.
Well,
I'm assuming you're talking about the world's purest vitamins over at purevitamin.club.com. But
I am. Because here's the deal. We were a company, kind of like Harley. We were doing gangbusters, right? We couldn't miss. We're making the best vitamins. We're charging the lowest price possible, and we couldn't miss. But then we started having issues. First there was supply chain, and then we had managerial issues. The manager I had in place didn't handle things correctly. That's the kindest way I can put it, right? And really took his eye off the ball, but I can't really blame it all on him. I took my eye off the ball too, because I thought he had it under control. And this company, kind of like Harley Davidson, almost went defunct. But now, Chris, you've been there ever since the takeover and the revamp and everything we're doing. It's running better than before. Would you say?
We have stuff, and we have stuff coming. That's 90% of it.
Yeah.
And the biggest issue we have now is not something we have control over. So
the U.S. mail?
Somebody tagged me the other day and they said, "Hey, why are you stopping using USPS? You know, I'm a postal carrier and I'm worried about that." That shouldn't be the takeaway from this podcast. It's not that we're not using USPS. It's when USPS can't deliver, we have to ship it with another method. Right? You said, we can't find this address, even though you've delivered them 90 packages from us over the last 5 years.
Right.
But yeah, USPS isn't going anywhere. They have gotten substantially better with it over the last few weeks. We are still dealing with a few issues there, but it's starting to iron itself out.
Yeah, it's coming around. So folks, if you left purevitaminclub.com for any reason, we are back. We're in stock all the time. Everything is being delivered. Everything is being shipped and delivered. Now, sometimes we have to go smack USPS around a little bit to get them to do their job, but it's happening. It's happening. So thank you guys, the people that hung in there, and I appreciate the people who have been coming back. We see a lot of old faces, meaning we see people that were there from the beginning doing it again. So I, for one, want to thank all of you. PureVitaminClub.com. Go check it out. Chris, what do you have over there?
Oh, I got all kinds of stuff. Do we want to start with health, fitness, or controversial things?
I like controversy. What do you have under controversy?
Well, I got one that will make you happy and one that will make you make a very confused face. So do we want confused or happy first?
Yeah, let's make me happy, and then we're going to confuse me. Let's do that.
All right. So you may or may not have seen, Vinnie, that RFK, the new Health and Human Services Secretary, that's HHS, right? The chief muckety-muck of health in the U.S. came out and said that they're banning food dyes. But he also said something that in that same conference that a lot of people missed.
Okay.
So I wanted to play this clip for you really quick and get your opinion on it.
Eliminate like sugar. And sugar is poison. And Americans need to know that. It is poisoning us. It's giving us a diabetes crisis. When I was a kid, I always say this. A typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes in his lifetime. Today, it's 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door.
Do you?
So, right after he said, we're going to get rid of food dyes, he said, sugar is poison. We probably can't get rid of it, but I want everyone to know that sugar is poison.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Is there anything else to say there, or does that say it all?
Listen, I love that. By the way, your voice is cutting. You know, your voice is popping again. So if you can try to fix something on your end, I would appreciate it. I love it. You know, I've been yelling about it on this podcast for 12 or 13 years now. And I mean, my first documentary talks about the origin of, you know, back when Lincoln was in office, the average American ate less than a pound of sugar per year. And most of that came from fruit and vegetation, right? Compared to now, where depending on which study you look at, the average American eats between 150 and 300 pounds of sugar per year. And you'll go, okay, then that's ridiculous. It's not. That's where we are, right? The difference between Vinnie saying it and RFK saying it is, and by the way, I don't give one flying F if RFK is with Trump. I don't care about politics, right? This is politics aside. This is someone in government saying the things that need to be said, and people are now hearing it. You see, when I'm yelling it into a mic, what do we have? Like 1 million people paying attention to this podcast. Way more people than that are going to hear it from RFK. Love him or hate him, right? And I don't care if you love him or hate him. I don't love the man. I don't hate the man. I appreciate that the man is saying something that we want to hear. And I said this before the election. I did some rally in Washington, D.C. And then after the rally, I'm sitting at dinner, a steak dinner with Nina Teicholz, Georgia Eads, Georgia's wife. I can't think of her name right now, a sweet woman. And I'm sitting around a table with a bunch of people, and they looked at me and said, Vinnie, you know, you seem to have your finger on the pulse of, the media and what's going on. What do you think is going to take? And I said, look, guys, I know, we did this rally today. Murtola was up there. I was up there. We all went up there and yelled into a mic for 5 minutes, but we basically yelled into a void. All of you guys are talking about a groundswell, and I love a good groundswell, but we're not swelling the ground a whole lot, because every time, this, I don't even go on Meta anymore. I don't go on Instagram anywhere else, because they're not showing my stuff to anyone. Right? I'm on X. I'm talking to people on X now. Again, people are, X, oh my God, that's Elon. Oh my God, we gotta go scratch your car. We gotta go scratch your car because of Elon. Right? Okay, go do what the fuck you want. I don't care. You can scratch all the cars you want. Guess what? Elon is still rich and you're not. So keep scratching cars. Right? And again, I said at that dinner that night, no one wants to hear this at this table. We have lesbians sitting here. We have everyone else. I said, but the only hope we have is someone like RFK. And I said, if Trump doesn't win the election, I hope that Kamala has the sense to go, hey, we need to bring RFK in anyway. Right? Because after all, he's a Democrat. Right? He's a Democrat that went to the other side to go, wait, I think they're going to win, and maybe I could do some good over here. That's all he did. And of course, he's hated for that. But I applaud the man for figuring out a way to get there. Right? And now he's saying the things that I've been yelling about on this podcast. Right? And by the way, I know people are going, well, Vinnie, you crazy. He believes in not vaxxing. I don't know. I've never heard him say he doesn't believe in non-vaxxing. He believes in...
Even if he does, right, criticize him for that. Don't criticize him for wanting to get rid of petroleum-based food dyes. Right?
Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater on this, folks, because he's the first one that's actually going against these food companies, and he's not backing down. Chris, is there any bigger chasm between what a human being sounds like and what a human being looks like than RFK Jr.?
Probably not, other than some big jack dude with a really squeaky voice.
Look, people always, people that never see me, they only hear me. Whenever they meet me, they go, oh my God, I didn't expect you to look the way you look. You sound like an old man, right? I don't sound...
Thank you.
Well, I've never sounded the way I look, right? People don't expect, I sound like Gran Torino, right? Like I'm 90 years old. I might as well be Joe Biden, to use another politician. My voice sounds weak and weird and the whole thing.
Yeah, let's just get everybody fired up.
Yeah, let's get them all going. Sometimes I do word salad, just like Kamala. So yeah, I don't look the way I sound. Right? My voice is kind of weak and weird and the whole thing. I've had a speech impediment my entire life. And I can't even say impediment.
Another thing you have in common with Joe. Oh, wait.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, he does. A lot of famous people have speech impediments, but there's no greater chasm between the way a human being looks and the way a human being sounds. As a matter of fact, he's got something called spasmodic dysphonia. That's what it's called. Right? And, yeah, it doesn't mean you're not going to die from it or anything else. It's something that happens mostly to middle-aged to older men or women. I think it's mostly women, right?
Yeah, I think you and I have talked about this in the past, and if I remember correctly, the two biggest associated factors are being middle-aged and being a woman. Yeah, that's great, right? And then fifth is genetics, right?
Yeah,
being a woman.
The first thing is being a woman. Number two, being a middle-aged woman. Tell me if this is, again, most people won't remember who this person is, but this is Katharine Hepburn, who, if you just close your eyes and listen, she sounds like RFK Jr. You ready? Let me turn this mic up. Let's see if we can catch her here.
But I think all this romanticizing about age, I don't get the point, except there'd be too many of us. So,
but it's not a miserable thing, and you're a perfect example of how it is not.
You haven't been around if you don't think it's miserable for a great many people.
And, that was her at the beginning of it. It got really weird towards the end, but she has something different. What she had was something called essential tremors, or I think it was called essential tremors or something like that. Look it up, Chris. But she did not have spasmodic.
Who is this?
Katharine Hepburn, not to be confused with Audrey Hepburn. I thought Audrey Hepburn was one of the most beautiful human beings to ever walk.
Essential tremor.
It's called essential tremors, right? And as she got older, it got more and more like RFK. Like when she was really old doing interviews, she literally became RFK. And they sounded almost identical. That's why I thought he had the same problem, but he has spasmodic dysphonia.
Yeah, that's more with the actual vocal cords, right? An essential tremor is neurological.
Yeah, like she would shake and almost kind of like Parkinson's, if you will. I don't know how they tell the difference between all of these diseases, but no, look, RFK, I love what he's saying there. There's going to be impossible to get sugars out. It's almost exactly what I said at the end of Fat, a documentary. Don't blame the companies putting the sugar out. Don't blame them. They don't hate you. They're just doing what they can to make money. You now have to make a choice not to eat those sugars, right? Because it's a drug like anything else.
Talking about making choices, Vinny.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a new choice for you. So you know all about Impossible Burger. By the way, is the audio any better?
Yeah, it's gotten a little better. Yeah, you're fine.
All right. You know all about Impossible Burger and all of that, but have you heard of hybrid meat?
I thought Impossible Burger was hybrid meat. No?
So Impossible Burger is straight vegan, right? And there's all these new terminologies now, like cultivated meat and lab-grown meat and cultured meat, which is the same thing, by the way. It means they grew it in a culture dish. But hybrid meat is a new one. All it means
go on
is that they're mixing meat with vegetables.
Okay.
But this is the new way to introduce everybody to eating less meat and eating more vegan, right? There are two different approaches that I found to this so far. There is a company called Both, which, hats off, great company name, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what they say it is. Both, I'm going to read you these ingredients.
Okay.
Grass-fed beef, roasted mushrooms, caramelized onion, cauliflower, broccoli, garlic, sea salt, dehydrated garlic, onion, bell pepper, and spice.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Can you see a picture of this food stuff there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is it all mixed together like chaffle, or is it?
It's a hamburger. It comes as a preformed hamburger patty. So all they're doing is grinding up vegetables and mixing it with grass-fed beef.
So why not just have a hamburger and have the meat jewelry on the side the way I do it?
Because then you're eating as much beef as you were previously, and you're not getting the same level of meat jewelry. Right. So what they're saying is,
Chris, here's my only problem with this product. It's the message, right? We're still saying, hey, meat is bad. So we're going to add something to this bad thing to cut it, right? It's kind of like what they do with cocaine. When it comes out of Bogota, it's pure, right? And then, this guy needs to make a little money, so he puts a little, powder in it or some, talc or whatever they cut it with, and now you're cutting it and you can make a buck, and then you get it to the next guy over in Mexico, and he's got to cut it with some baby laxative to get, by the time you get it, you're getting like 25% cocaine.
Well, maybe by the time you get it.
Yeah, someone lives in Colombia. Ooh. But you understand what I'm saying, right? It's like they're saying...
Meanwhile, our president's trying to legalize it down here, but yeah.
The bottom line is, I didn't mean to go into the cocaine reference because it really didn't make sense, but we're saying meat is bad and we're going to make it less bad by giving you less of it, but you're going to think you're eating the whole hamburger. I don't like that messaging. Now, if the ingredients that you read are the only ingredients that are there, you know what? I'm sitting here going, I'm camping, and why not have some veggies with my meat? Although I don't want any carbs in my meat when I'm camping, right? Because if I'm camping, I'm usually climbing also, so I want as much saturated fat and protein as I can get. So I'm going to take that back. I can't think of any situation where I would want to cut my meat with vegetables.
I can think of one.
Okay, I can't wait to hear that.
If you have a kid that's a really picky eater and won't otherwise eat vegetables, maybe. Right? Like you can't get them to eat anything and you want your kid to eat more vegetables and they won't eat the broccoli on the side. You grind it up and you put it in with the ground beef. I'm okay with that. But for as good as both appears to be, of course, there's the exact opposite of this, which is a company called Choppy. Choppy. Okay. And they are hopping onto this hybrid meat train.
All right.
So this is obviously not a vegan product, but instead of going with, I don't know, real ingredients, I'm going to read you what is this? This is their chopped steak. So do you want that or the carne asada?
Give me the chopped steak. Let's get the chopped steak.
So nutrition facts, 3 ounces cooked, right? 150 calories, 7 grams of fat, 9 milligrams of cholesterol, 3 grams of carbs, 1 gram of fiber, sugar for some God knows what reason.
Blah, 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 blah.
Water, wheat protein isolate, beef tallow, soy protein isolate, natural flavors, brown rice protein, beef collagen, potassium bicarbonate, garlic powder, onion, bone broth, malted barley, citric acid, black pepper,
and stop right there. You can stop right there.
For coloring.
Yeah, that sounds like the most unhealthy thing. That if I ate one of those, I would have instant inflammation. Instant. I would feel crappy immediately.
How do you have a hybrid meat product where the first ingredient is water? That's I understand there's a lot of water in meat, but
But we didn't even get to meat until we got to beef collagen, didn't we?
Beef tallow? Yeah, I mean the only thing that comes close, there are essentially 2 animal products in this.
It was collagen and what else?
Beef tallow and beef collagen.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there is beef broth in it.
Okay. So this is an abomination. The other one is passable with, I don't like the message because they're saying meat is bad, so we're going to cut it. But, that's like saying, hey, people who smoke Camels, if you get yourself a cigarette that's like a Winston, I guess, it's got the filter on it, it's better for you because we're going to let it run through some paper and then you'll be fine, right? You understand what I'm saying? It's not better.
And here's the question. So thinking about something like both, right? Why would you buy that in the store versus just throwing everything in the food processor and buying a pound of ground beef? Like, if you really want that mixture.
Because I can tell you why. See, you're thinking that people are like you.
Yeah, I mean, other than convenience, I guess, but
I talk to people all day long. Apparently, look, I was told as a kid, you get yourself a microwave, saves time. You get yourself an indoor washing machine. Don't laugh. My grandmother, when I was a kid, they had washboards. I remember washboards when I was a kid and wash tubs, right? You get yourself an indoor washing machine, saves time, right? You get yourself this, you get a computer, you save time. We're supposed to be saving all of this time, yet every time I talk to someone on a consult, Vinny, what can we do on the run? We don't have time. The reason I feed my kids cereal is because we don't have time. I would go, what about eggs? You know, we got to sit there and cook eggs in the morning. No, you don't. Boil them the night before. They'll be nice and cool, ready to go. Just leave them on the counter. Just add salt, let your kids eat that. And when you say that to them, they get very quiet. Like they're on the other end of the phone going, oh, geez, he just called me on my shit. Right? That's where we are. Right? People keep trying to save time. I was talking to my buddy yesterday, and he goes, you know, I was heading to the gym, and my buddy Don Coddington.
It's the billionaire Don Coddington's Friday 5 o'clock.
So Don calls me and the whole thing, and he goes, wow, he goes, this is unbelievable. I said, what is that, Don? He goes, my nose hair trimmer just broke. So while I'm talking to you, I went onto Amazon, ordered a new nose hair trimmer. You know, these things, you got one, right? It's a little electric thing. You know, it's got a battery in it. They usually last 3 or 4 years, and then one day they just stop working. He goes, I just ordered this. It took me 2 seconds, and it's going to be here later today. How can anyone compete with Amazon? How can anyone compete? It's like, well, you can't, right? All this time saving. He didn't have to go out to a drugstore and hope that they had one. They didn't have one because they ran out, so he's got to go to another drugstore. He just pressed a couple of buttons, and it's going to show up on his doorstep. Time, right? All we hear about is time. And you want someone to put meat in a blender with vegetables? Are you fucking insane?
Or just throw them in it and walk away and then come back. And mix
yeah,
it
but that's why, you know, you forget. If they put those same vegetables, tell me the vegetables that was in that first product.
It was broccoli. Let me pull it back up here. Mushrooms, cauliflower, broccoli.
Okay.
Bell pepper.
Okay. If you take cauliflower, what else is it? Cauliflower, broccoli, and pepper.
Yep.
Not so much mushrooms. And you blend those up, you're going to have a slush of water and mush and everything else, right? You got to do that. You got to now strain it a bit. You got to.
I don't know the last time you blended cauliflower or broccoli, but it turns into rice.
Yeah,
right?
it does. But isn't it kind of moist? I mean, and then how much meat do you add to it? I mean,
50-50. That's what they're doing. But that's my thing, right? Like I get the mission of the other one, right? Where they're trying to say, look, it has some animal products in it, so it's not really vegan. Somebody like a both, I understand the mission.
Right.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but for me, I could never, and I'm trying to find how much this thing is, and I guess I can't because they only sell it at Raley's and Thrive Market, and Thrive Market's website is down. But it can't be less expensive than buying those, like anywhere close, right? And with everybody complaining about the price of eggs, why would you want 50% less meat for much more money rather than just getting the beef? And if that's really what you want to do, or you have a kid that won't eat vegetables otherwise, or whatever it is, then yeah, like make some cauliflower rice at the beginning of the week and mix it in with your beef. Like,
you know, we're getting on to springtime now, and you know, I got my tomato plants going out back. You know,
I know Miss Serena said she was going to spend the afternoon in your garden today.
Yeah, well, when she says garden, she means the rest of the garden, not the Vinnie garden. The Vinnie garden is where stuff we eat grows. Her, you know, she's making things look pretty.
Oh, so you have the same division of garden labor that we do.
Yeah, my garden labor we actually eat. Serena's we look at. But we did one of our favorite springtime, summertime meals last night. We do hamburgers, big giant plump hamburgers. We barely, you know, it's just seared on the top and the bottom. It's basically raw in the middle. Folks, you might want to cook your hamburger meat a little more than what I'm talking about, because you could give yourself a problem if the meat is a little weird, right? But we get this really good fresh ground beef. Psh, psh, both sides. And then Serena makes a fresh guacamole. And we put a piece of cheese and then the guacamole on top of that. Sometimes we add a slice of tomatoes. Last night we didn't. We're going to start having this probably once every 5 days. And whenever we have people over and we serve this, they always go, I need the recipe for this. And basically they're asking for the recipe for the guacamole because Serena makes an incredible, it's not all like mush, right? There's whole pieces of avocado in there and there's jalapenos and everything. Oh, it's just so good. Such a great spring and summertime treat, right? And you go, what are you having with that? That's the whole meal, right? You're full after that. You're stuffed, as a matter of fact. You don't want anything else, right? So, yeah, it's so easy just to eat ground beef and add some kind of meat jewelry to it. Last night, we added a fruit to it. We added avocado. Sometimes we add 2 fruits, avocado and a slice of tomato. My tomatoes aren't there yet. But when we do have them, we're going to have that, right? And no, I'm not one of these people that think a tomato is going to kill you, right? I'm not worried about lectins and everything else that
technically your guacamole has multiple fruits in it. Peppers are fruits, right?
Is pepper a fruit or veggie? It doesn't grow on a tree. Well, it grows on a vine. Look it up, Chris. See, you brought it up. I think it's a fruit.
Peppers are botanically fruits.
Yeah.
Because they contain seeds and develop from a flower.
Yeah.
Does that make zucchini a fruit too?
Chris, let's not go down that road, please. My head's going to hurt. What else you got there? We got anything else?
Yeah, I wanted to run some exercise stuff by you really quick, Vinny. You have talked about how exercise is a piss poor way to lose weight. My words, not yours, but it is the fountain of youth. And I had an article come across my feed this week that talking about using exercise for longevity and how if you're not doing these 3 things, you're going to be missing out on longevity.
Okay.
I wanted to run these by you very quickly. One of these I have a gripe with. 2 of these I think are decent. So he's saying the 3 things you must do in the gym are chin-ups or assisted chin-ups, farmer's carry, and the Bulgarian split squat. That's the one that I was like, I mean, I get it, but also...
What, did they just pick 3 random exercises and say these are 3 that you must do?
Well, I think there's got to be some rationale behind it, right? Grip strength, we know, is a big thing. Right. So your farmer's carry is going to help you tremendously with that. Your assisted chin-ups, you're going to get some benefit out of that, especially for balance and coordination type of stuff. The one that I'm trying to figure out why they're saying it's the greatest thing since sliced bread for longevity. This, by the way, comes out of the Independent, right? So it's not like it's a random blog, right? It's a fairly well-known publication.
Right. Well, all right. So
the only thing I can think of is that it's a single limb exercise, so you're strengthening each limb individually. That one didn't resonate with me at all.
Okay. All right. I'm not a fan of the one-arm farmer's carry at all. I think if you're going to do it, have something in each hand. The reason being is, I get it. You're holding something on one side, the other side has to stabilize it. If you have any kind of back issues as you get older, you're going to end up stripping a gear every time. Right? So I don't like the one-arm farmer's carry at all.
Is it weird that I do a 2-arm farmer's carry as a rest?
No, I do it. I do it out in my yard. I use my hex bar, the bar that goes all the way around you pretty much. I just throw a plate on each side. My yard is on a big slant, and I'll do it out there. I'm going to be doing some of that. I just hurt my back, so I'm not doing much of anything with heavy weights right now, but when my back is all better, I'll be out there doing it again. The Bulgarian split squat is basically a lunge where you're getting more articulation, more movement, going deeper. And if you're young, yeah, sure, knock yourself out. People who, once you get up past 50 or so and your joints are tighter and the whole thing, and you might not have as good a balance, and I show it in some of my workouts, right? I'm getting ready to put these workouts. They're coming out middle of May. We're looking at middle of May, right, Chris, to get it all out. We're going to change my website and everything else. So we're doing a whole makeover, kind of like Harley Davidson and, Japan and Toyota and Pure Vitamin Club. At any rate,
callbacks.
It's a lot of articulation. I show these exercises in the workouts, but the lunge is generally good enough for most people, right? Getting deeper, it causes more balance and everything else to do the Bulgarian split squat, but it can also cause more problems. Go on, Chris.
The argument he's making is that it forces you to do a hip extension if you're doing it correctly.
Yeah, but forcing someone who can't do a hip extension to do a hip extension is going to cause a problem.
Or you could just do a hip extension and see if you can do a hip extension.
Right. So look, even the lunge, a lot of times when I'll have people, 45, 50, hadn't been exercising or whatever, just getting them to do a regular lunge, which is not as severe as the Bulgarian split squat, they can't do that. That back leg, that hip extension hurts like a mother, right? So, all right. So if you said to me, here's the obvious question, Vinnie. If you were going to tell people to do only three exercises, right? And using weight was not a possibility, I'm going to add that to it. I'm going to make it more difficult.
So 3 body weight only exercises.
Right.
Okay.
What would I have people do? 1 would be a push-up. 2 would be the pull-up or the assisted pull-up. So they got that one right. And 3 would be the lunge. If you can't do the lunge, the body weight squat, where you can hold on to something. Those are the 3. Right. And you'll say, well, why those 3? Well, you're pushing away. So you're working your triceps, your deltoids, your chest, your shoulders. You're pulling towards you. You're working your biceps, a different part of your deltoids, your trapezoids, and you work your trap in a different way on the other one. And a lot of your back muscles, your latissimus dorsi, the levator scapulae, the teres majors and minors, all of those around the force coupling muscles. Now I'm just getting fancy. And then on legs, I
like when you get really excited. It's the force coupling muscles. Everybody knows.
I was showing force coupling. At any rate, and then with the legs, you do the simple lunge, not the Bulgarian split squat, and you're working, all 3 of your glutes, right? Medial, maximal, minimal. You're working your hamstrings, you're working your quads, you're getting just a little work in some hip flexors and just a little bit in your calves, not a whole lot. But those 3 exercises, if you did nothing else, put you ahead of most people in the world.
So it sounds like he's not that far off. There's just some tweaks. And I'm curious.
There's no push at all. I mean, he's doing 2 grippy exercises, farmer's carries and which is not a bad exercise, and pull-ups, which is one of the ones I recommend.
Well, so he said chin-ups, and that's the conversation that I wanted to have with you.
Okay.
Is there a substantial difference?
No.
It does technically work muscles in a different way in terms of how you're loaded.
It's different. It's a little different angle on the same muscles. As a matter of fact, in my workout, I don't have chin-ups. I have just a regular chin-ups. It's such a thing. Chin-ups are when your palms are facing you, right? And pull-ups are when your palms are facing away, which usually allows you to be able to go out wider. So the way I have people doing them in these workouts is the wide grip lat pull or the pull-ups, right? And then the A-frame bar where your hands are like this. So it's an abbreviated version of the chin-up. So it's right in between the 2. Right. And I find that most people won't get hurt doing those 2. You won't get tendonitis or anything else. Could I have put the chin up in there? Sure. But I didn't want to confuse people. These workouts are to get you into maximum shape, not to confuse the F out of you, if that makes any sense.
So if you're doing lunges, chin up / pull up, right? However whichever flavor of that ice cream you want to throw in.
Yeah.
And
push-ups.
Push-ups.
Mm-hmm.
You have a solid foundation. Would you throw in? I mean, if we're talking about longevity, and that's the thing that blew my mind in that article that they were not talking about at all. Would you add in some flexibility to that? So
well, now you're getting into a whole different thing. I would add in flexibility and aerobic activity. At the very least for aerobics, walking, which is very simple. Also jumping rope, very simple, right? You don't have to get into, you don't have to go listen to music from Flashdance and get on an elliptical machine and go a million miles an hour, or you don't have to get on a spin bike or, a Rogue Echo bike or a rowing machine. Just walking. So it's so simple, and we should be doing it every day. Usually I look at my watch every day and it shows somewhere between 16 or 1700 and 16 or 17,000 and 25,000 steps, right? And they tell you 10,000 steps a day. 10,000 steps is about 4.5, maybe even 5 miles, depending on how big your steps are, right? Folks, you should be doing that. And, Vinnie, I don't have time. There's lunchtime, there's before work, there's after work. You're telling me you work all day? Hell, I found a lot of time in my life. I was talking to a guy, I was doing a consult with a guy the other day. I was calling him Eric because, well, that was his name. And Eric started backsliding, started gaining weight again. So I said, Eric, I'm going to be on the phone with you. I'm going to be like white on rice. I'm going to be like stink on roadkill, pal. I'm going to be on your ass because we got to get you losing weight again, right? And he did admit, he goes, I need to do a phone diet. I said, yeah, how much time you spending on your phone? He goes, between 8 and 10 hours a day. The national average is 7, right? I started doing a thing. How long has it been? Like over a month now? Like 5 or 6 weeks? 6
weeks.
Okay. Ask me if I've backslid.
Vinnie, have you backslid on your phone screen diet?
Well, let's see. You can't lie, right? There's no way I can fudge these numbers. Right now, on Wednesday of this week, it starts every Sunday. What does that number say, Chris?
38 minutes, I think is what that says.
38 minutes. That's what I'm averaging per day. 38 minutes a day. I use my phone for work. Chris can tell you all of that is probably texting back and forth with him.
That's you turning the screen on to find the call button, to press the call button to call me. That's probably what that is.
Yeah. Every time that screen lights up, that counts as screen time, right? So, I don't go to Meta. I don't go to Instagram anymore because I got tired of looking at the same shit. I was up to 3 hours. That first week, I got it down to 1 hour and 7 minutes. The second week, I got it down to like 40-something minutes. Then I wanted to see how low I can go. And that brought me down to 20 minutes. Now, I haven't been using my rowing machine. My rowing machine brings it up to, on weeks when I use my rowing machine, it goes up to like 45, 48 minutes of screen time a week, right? Because those long periods average in. The reason I haven't been using my rowing machine is because I hurt my back. I've been back spasms and the whole thing. So I've been on my spinners and my exercise hand bike and the whole thing. Right. So, yeah, 38 minutes is a little low. Usually it's between 45 and 50, which I'm happy with. As Chris would tell you, that's me calling Chris and complaining, what happened here, what happened there. I can't tell you how, and I'm not saying this to brag, folks. I have no reason to brag about this. At 3 hours, I thought I was wasting a significant portion of my life. I can't tell you what it feels like to get that time back. And of course, that time is not like in one chunk. It's all over the place. But it's allowing me to get so much more done in a day, right? It allows me to get done earlier in a day to where I can go enjoy, watch television, talk to Serena, right? Do that kind of thing. It opens up to other things just to do that. So I'm not telling you got, that's crazy. I'm addicted to my phone. I'm telling you, you don't need it.
I think the first thing people can do is not take their phone into the bathroom.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if you have your phone in the bathroom with you, that you are wasting time. And I'm not just talking to the people, Vinny, who will sit there until their legs fall asleep. I'm talking to the people who go, oh, I'll just watch this 5-minute YouTube video while I'm in here.
Right.
Did you really need 5 minutes?
No, I can tell you, the only time mine comes in a bathroom with me is when I take a shower. Because I hit the music. We don't have music in our bathroom. We have music that somehow comes on other devices around, what is that thing called? Alexa. Like if I'm in the kitchen, I'll say, Alexa, play Earth, Wind, and Fire, right? Or something.
There you go.
While I'm cooking. And, I love listening to music while I'm cooking or cleaning up or whatever. And the one place I don't have that is in the bathroom. So the only time the phone comes in the bathroom with me now, because I was guilty of that too. Oh, bring the phone in the bathroom. Catch up on some, tweets or whatever. And before you know it, you're looking at something else. And you're sitting there. I know it sounds gross, but that's what happens. That's wasting time. Today I had a doctor's appointment, and there was an inkling of a thought when I got out of my car. Should I bring this phone with me I was telling myself to catch up on tweets and this and that and the whole thing. Like, nah, not going to do it. I walked in, they had a magazine there. I didn't even get past the cover, reading the cover, and they called me in. I got lucky, right? I got there right before my appointment, went in, boom, didn't need the phone. Stayed in the car. As a matter of fact, it stays in the car all the time now. And by me not looking at my phone, I'm looking at everyone else looking at their phones, going, I wish I can tell you how cool. It's almost like being like a Jehovah's Witness where you go, hey, can I tell you about the light? Can I tell you about... It's such a fucking relief, Chris. It really is.
I think I'm curious, and this is a longer conversation, maybe not for today. Is the addiction to the phone the same thing as, or caused by the same thing as everybody's kids now saying that they're bored all the time? You're like, oh, I need to take my phone with me because I don't want to be bored. Like in your example, you walked into the doctor's office, you were there 5 minutes. Let's say you were there 15 minutes. Most people would be having a cold sweat at that point because they haven't looked at the notifications on their phone. They haven't, checked the thing, or they don't know what the latest news is, and they can't wait to see it, right? You have that addiction. But is it an addiction to the phone itself, or is it an addiction to distraction?
I think it's an addiction to distraction, or I don't really know.
To novelty.
Yeah, but the thing I noticed when I was like, what am I doing? Was whenever I would go and post something on Instagram or look at something you posted for me on Instagram, if I'm being honest, I would look at it and then it would show me something else. And I noticed it was showing me the same things over and over and over. And I was like, I've seen these things already. What am I doing? I'm just looking at them again, or some other version of the same thing. What am I doing? And I had this moment of, let me see where I am. And I looked at that screen time thing, and that's where I saw that I was at 3 hours and something. So the next week, I looked again, and I was at 2 hours and 58 minutes, right close to the week before. It's like, okay, this has become the new norm for me. And I didn't like it, right? And that's when I said, let me just see what I can do. I cut 2/3 of it out the first week. Well, almost 2/3, an hour and 7 minutes. And then I did the thing I always do. Let me see how Spartan I can be about this the second week. And there was a moment of feeling like I was walking around missing, FOMO, fear of missing out. You hear it all the time. That word didn't exist before the cell phone, right? We created FOMO. And you go, well, Vinnie, you still listen to podcasts? Yes, I do. That's part of that 38 minutes when I go and click on a podcast.
But that doesn't mean you have to be doing it like this. You can turn off the screen, right? If you're listening to something.
You press the thing, because I have all the ones downloaded that I want to hear. Yeah. Right? I listen to books all the time. I just listened to Bonnie Soy's book on muscle. She was this past Friday. She sent it to me ahead of time because it wasn't for sale yet. And I had to go to a special Google app to go listen to it. But I would press on it, go work out, listen to the book about muscle while I was trying to make muscle. It's kind of cool, right? It doesn't take time. Like I said, the biggest time suck for me is it stays on the whole time I'm on the Concept 2 because I'm registering those workouts. But I'm okay with that, right? Do it, folks. Do a screen time diet. If you're at 7 hours, try to cut it down to half of that in the first week. Try to get it to 3.5 hours. If you're at 8 hours, like Eric was telling me, try to get it to 4. And then the following week, try to cut that down to half of that. Trust me, if you're not working on your phone, there's really no reason to waste your life looking at a phone. And I know a lot of people are going to say, Vinny, you can kiss my ass, man. This is entertainment for me. If that's entertainment, you need to really take a good look at your life. You really do have to take a good look at your life.
I think it's because we're so used to it now, right? Where you're like, oh, this is, I watch my YouTube on there. Guess where else you can watch YouTube? On your TV, right? Yeah. And then you're not distracted by the other 90,000 things. Vinny, I don't know if you consume YouTube the way that I typically do, but what I have noticed is when I'm on my computer, I will have one thing pulled up. On my phone, because you get that picture-in-picture, I'm already looking for the next freaking thing to watch. Right?
Really?
Oh, yeah. And that's when I stopped using YouTube on my phone. Now, when I go in the morning and, I walk into town and go to the butcher shop and pick up whatever we're eating that day, I will download a bunch of stuff and listen to it that way. But if I don't, I'm looking for that next thing. Unless I know it's a 4-hour podcast or something like that. If it's a 15-minute video, I want to have that next thing lined up. It's like cocaine, right? You're just like, oh my God, do it this way. And it's because we're just so used to having that now. We've outsourced our thinking and the ability to be alone with ourselves to that device, right? Where if you're going for a 10-minute walk from your car to the doctor's office and sitting there for 5 minutes, you can't be alone for that 10-minute period of time. You have to have something either in front of your face scrolling through Instagram, or you have to be listening to something. You have to be doing something. And it's almost like we're afraid to be alone now versus, and it's a crutch more than it is even entertainment, right? Because you're like, what's the next thing? I don't want 30 seconds of silence while I look for the next video. I want to have it queued up and I'll just add it to my queue so that it auto plays when this one ends. And then when that one gets happening. Even when I was using a phone, I don't have the YouTube problem. Now, I found this very interesting. My older brother was here at the house, came visit me. I hardly ever see my older brother. Super cool guy. We get along great. He comes to my house and he works his ass off. I've never seen any human being work harder than my brother. And I said, Mike, whenever you want, because I know he likes to get away from people. My other brother and the wives are here. And I say, Mike, downstairs, let me show you my basement. I have this big screen TV. You go down there. He sat down. He goes, thanks, man. He turns on the TV. He goes, you got YouTube in here? I mean, absolutely, I do. It's all on there. I'm not a YouTube guy, so I don't go to YouTube, but it's on there. I also have YouTube TV. That's where I watch a lot of pro football. Right, it comes in. That's where I get my Sunday ticket or whatever through YouTube TV. I said, yeah, Mike, YouTube is on there. It's all on there. So he stayed down here and started watching television. I went upstairs and I was hanging out. I said, I'm going to go check on Michael and see what he's doing. So I came downstairs and he's watching television and said, hey, what are you watching?
He goes, I watched this show about guys. It's a tow truck company that pulls people out of the sand in the desert and in ridiculous places and all this kind of stuff. And he goes, I'm a big fan. That guy right there is my hero and the whole thing. I'm like, all right, ask me what my brother does for a living.
Tow truck driver?
He owns a company called Tortorich Towing.
Was he watching Matt's off-road recovery?
I don't know what it is, but they were in the sand when I saw it.
Oh, yeah.
Down here for a second.
That's Matt's off-road recovery. It's a huge channel.
Yeah, and the other thing that my brother does is he finds old cars, like with trees growing out of the middle, and brings them home and restores them. He's been doing that his whole life. He's a mechanic by trade. And I came down later on, and he's watching a guy starting up an old cat diesel, land mover, and I'm like, a bulldozer. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, yeah, I like to watch these too, where they go find these old things. He's watching his life. When he's not doing his life, he just goes and watches his life, which you will never catch me watching bro science dudes on the internet, right?
unless it's to criticize for some particular reason, right? Like that I can imagine. But with all of the endless entertainment that's out there, I get it, right? He's like, okay, this is a cool way. It's a better story than his life.
Yeah.
Right. That's one thing. That's what made that Matt's Off-Road Recovery channel very popular, is the way that they story tell, right? It's not a story as in that it's made up, but the way that it's edited is a coherent story, and it makes sense. At least he doesn't have the 2-screen problem. Vinnie, is that something you've ever caught yourself doing?
No,
where you're watching something and you have something else pulled up.
No, I'm one. If I'm talking to someone, I'm just talking to them. I've always just been I'm concentrating on what I'm doing, right? I wasn't even a check things while I'm driving. You know that. Whenever I'm driving and we're having meetings, I'll say, well, I can't look it up right now because I'm driving.
Yeah. Hey, can you look that up for me? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just say, Chris, look it up. I'm driving.
I think is where a lot of people get their screen time too. Well, their phone screen time, because they are watching TV or whatever, but they also have this in their hand at the same time, and they're scrolling on Facebook, they're scrolling on Instagram, and if you're doing both of those things at the same time, you're not doing either of those things very well.
Right.
So you're not paying attention to either of those. So just if you're watching something, put the phone down and watch the thing. If you're eating dinner, I don't know, maybe put the phone down and don't pull up YouTube videos, or don't as crappy as voice assistants are, and you mentioned Alexa or like a Google Home or whatever, that is a much better way to pull up some music or something while you're cooking, because you're not going to get distracted by anything else, right? Like if I was going to search through my phone to try to pull up music when we were in the kitchen, it would be 20 minutes, because I'd spend the first 15 of them getting rid of all of the extraneous notifications that I don't need for the 15 emails from the 30 people that I'm never going to look at. And then you finally get to the music, versus, hey, can you play this? Oh, you didn't get the right song? All right, no, seriously, play this song. And then you get the right thing, and you're much more engaged in the experience, right?
Yeah. You're absolutely correct. And I'll finish this by saying, about 10 years ago, I was watching Gary Vaynerchuk talking to a group of advertisers, going, how many people in the room, when they're watching television, has one other device in their hand? And 2/3 of the hand went up. Because how many people have 2 devices, meaning a phone and maybe an iPad? And about 1/3 of the hands went up. Because how many people have 3 devices, a computer, an iPad, and like 10% of the hands went up. And he goes, and you guys still think it's good to advertise on television, right? It's where we've gone. We'll make that the final word. Chris, people can find our products at purevitaminclub.com, also purecoffeeclub.com, also nsngfoods.com. And we have some exciting news coming soon. We just have to clear a lot of it with the attorney. We're going to make that whole shopping experience really easy for everyone. So don't think that I'm just resting on my laurels here, folks. We're taking everything to the next level. So go check it out. Somewhere towards the middle or the end of May, you will see a new look on VinnieTortorich.com also. But in the meantime, go there before you go to Amazon. Click through the banner. It puts a little coal on the fire. It gets my train down the track. And I'm able to keep this show free for a gazillion years in a row. So on behalf of Chris Shaffer, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living, and let's do it with just a little bit more of this famous song by Michael Cimbello.